Deep in the Himalayas, there is a solitary kingdom that legally requires its environment to be protected and measures its national success not by accumulating wealth, but by cultivating the actual happiness of its citizens. Imagine waking up just before dawn in a high mountain valley where the air is unimaginably crisp, carrying the sharp, clean scent of blue pine and the earthy, grounding aroma of burning juniper incense. Outside your wooden window, the jagged, snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas pierce a sky that is slowly shifting from deep indigo to a soft, bruised purple. You hear a sound, a low, rhythmic, continuous hum echoing through the morning mist. It is the deep, resonant chanting of monks, accompanied by the slow, deliberate, creaking spin of giant wooden prayer wheels. Millions of colorful prayer flags flutter wildly in the fierce mountain wind, each one carrying a silent, compassionate wish for the benefit of all sentient beings. You are standing in a place where time seems to operate on a completely different scale. While the rest of the world is rushing relentlessly forward, caught in an endless, exhausting race for more wealth, faster production, and constant consumption, this remote kingdom has bravely chosen an entirely different path. It is a place where the majestic landscape is not merely an economic resource to be exploited, but a sacred entity to be deeply revered. Here, the ultimate goal of life, and the ultimate mandate of the government itself, is not to accumulate vast financial capital, but to cultivate something deeply profound and entirely intangible. We are stepping into a realm where the mind is valued just as much as the material, where true human progress is measured by the peace found within a person's heart. Welcome to Culture Journey. Today, we are traveling to the very roof of the world, to a land veiled in lingering mist, ancient myth, and profound spirituality. We are journeying to Bhutan, known intimately to its own people as Druk Yul, the majestic land of the Thunder Dragon. Tucked away between the massive, shifting geopolitical forces of China to the north and India to the south, Bhutan remained remarkably and intentionally isolated from the rest of the globe for centuries. This deliberate, protective seclusion allowed a unique, deeply spiritual culture to flourish, completely untouched by the rapid industrial revolutions that violently swept across the rest of the planet. But what truly makes Bhutan stand out in our hyper-connected modern era is not just its dramatic, breathtaking geography or its ancient fortresses clinging to impossible, dizzying cliffsides. It is a revolutionary philosophy, a radical paradigm shift in how a sovereign nation measures its own worth and the well-being of its people. We are exploring the concept of gross national happiness, widely known as GNH. To the local people, this is absolutely not just a catchy political slogan or a clever marketing tool designed to attract international tourists. It is a deeply ingrained way of daily life, an entire socio-economic system firmly rooted in ancient Buddhist principles that seeks to perfectly balance material progress with spiritual, mental, and emotional well-being. It is a profound, national acknowledgement that while money is undeniably necessary for a comfortable existence, it is fundamentally inadequate for a fulfilled, meaningful one. Let us walk together through the lush green valleys of Druk Yul and discover exactly how an entire nation practices the beautiful, difficult art of being genuinely happy. To truly understand the heartbeat of this nation, we must first travel back in time to the pivotal year of 1972. Imagine a young monarch, the fourth king of Bhutan, Jigme Singye Wangchuck. He was merely a teenager when he unexpectedly ascended the throne, inheriting a beautiful but highly vulnerable country that was just beginning to cautiously open its heavy wooden doors to the inquisitive outside world. International journalists, fascinated by this hidden kingdom, asked the young king about Bhutan's gross domestic product, the standard global metric for a country's success, wealth, and power. His response was as unexpected as it was brilliant. Gross national happiness is more important than gross domestic product. With those profound words, a revolutionary philosophy was officially born. But how do you take something as abstract, as highly subjective, and as fleeting as human happiness, and turn it into a concrete, measurable national policy? The architects of Bhutan's future did not view happiness as a fleeting state of temporary euphoria or a constant, giddy, artificial smile. Instead, they carefully defined it as a deep, abiding contentment, a sustainable harmony between the rich inner life of the individual and the complex outer world they inhabit. To achieve this monumental task, they established the 4 pillars of gross national happiness. These interconnected pillars are the unshakable foundation upon which every single government policy, every educational curriculum, and every infrastructure developmental project in the entire kingdom is carefully built. They are sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, environmental conservation, preservation and promotion of culture, and good governance. This was a radical declaration that humanity is far more complex than a mere economic spreadsheet. Let us look very closely at the second pillar of this philosophy, the vital, uncompromising protection of the environment. If you were to fly over the kingdom of Bhutan today, you would look down and see a mesmerizing, seemingly endless ocean of vibrant green. Did you know that Bhutan is the only officially carbon-negative country in the entire world? It naturally absorbs significantly more carbon dioxide than it produces. This incredible achievement is not a mere accident of geography. It is a deliberate, fiercely conscious choice that is actually enshrined in their very constitution, which strictly mandates that at least 60% of the country's total landmass must securely remain under pristine forest cover for all of time. Currently, that number impressively sits at over 70%. Imagine walking slowly through one of these ancient, untouched forests. The dense canopy above is so thick that the brilliant sunlight filters through in bright, glowing emerald shafts, illuminating the dancing dust motes. The forest floor is soft and springy with thick, damp moss, and the air you breathe is arguably some of the purest, most invigorating on Earth. You might catch a rare glimpse of the takin, a strangely beautiful, mythical-looking creature that appears to be a mix between a mountain goat and a heavy cow, moving deliberately through the dense underbrush. Or, if you visit the stunning Phubjika Valley in the bitter cold of winter, you can witness the magnificent arrival of the highly endangered black-necked cranes. These majestic, graceful birds are so deeply revered by the Bhutanese that when they finally arrive from the harsh Tibetan plateau, the locals swear they circle the ancient, imposing Gangte Monastery exactly 3 times, as if performing a sacred airborne circumambulation, before gracefully landing in the protected wetlands. To the people of Bhutan, the rushing, crystal-clear rivers are not just convenient water sources to be dammed for lucrative hydropower. They are the vital, pulsing veins of the earth. The towering, snow-capped mountains are not just challenging peaks waiting to be arrogantly conquered by foreign climbers. They are the sacred, untouchable abodes of powerful protective deities. Now, let us turn our attention to the third crucial pillar, the meticulous preservation of culture. This is perhaps what visually strikes weary travelers the most when they first arrive in this magical kingdom. When arriving in the rapidly growing capital city of Thimphu, travelers are often surprised to find something incredibly strange missing from the streets. There are no traffic lights anywhere. Thimphu remains the only capital city in the entire world without a single automated traffic light, relying instead on elegantly choreographed, highly dignified traffic police officers wearing crisp, bright white gloves who direct the flow of cars with graceful, almost dance-like hand movements. But the cultural preservation goes much deeper than charming traffic control. As you walk slowly through the bustling, vibrant local weekend markets, inhaling the intensely pungent scent of massive piles of dried red chilies, the absolute staple ingredient of the beloved, dangerously spicy national dish, amadachi, you will see nearly all the local people wearing beautiful traditional clothing. The men proudly wear the go, a distinctive knee-length robe securely tied at the waist with a woven belt, while the women wear the kira, an incredibly elegant, ankle-length dress beautifully woven with intricate, vibrantly colorful geometric patterns. This is certainly not a theatrical costume put on to entertain wealthy tourists. It is the strictly required, legally mandated dress code for all public schools, government offices, and formal civic occasions. Look at the stunning architecture completely surrounding you. Every single building, from the humblest, mud-rammed rural farmhouse to the grandest, most imposing dzong, massive, awe-inspiring fortress monasteries that serve dual roles as both sacred religious sanctuaries and busy administrative centers, is constructed using strict traditional architectural designs. Historically, these colossal structures were constructed entirely by hand, without the use of a single iron nail or even a formal written blueprint, relying entirely on the master builder's mental visualization. If you were there, what would you want to try first? Would you eagerly try your hand at the fiercely competitive national sport of archery, standing in a lively field, hearing the sharp, satisfying thwack of the bamboo arrow miraculously hitting a tiny, brilliantly painted wooden target from over 140 meters away? Or would you perhaps prefer to sit quietly in the peaceful courtyard of a mountain temple? But how does a modern government actually measure something as invisible as happiness? It sounds almost completely impossible, like trying to weigh a passing cloud or measure the depth of a dream. Yet the Bhutanese government takes this incredibly seriously. They have systematically developed a highly sophisticated gross national happiness index, expanding the original 4 broad pillars into 9 highly specific, measurable domains. These deeply thought-out domains include psychological well-being, physical health, education, daily time use, cultural diversity and resilience, good governance, community vitality, ecological diversity, and finally, basic living standards. Every few years, a dedicated, highly trained army of survey workers completely spreads out across the rugged, unforgiving terrain of the country. They bravely trek for days on end over incredibly high, snow-packed mountain passes, carefully navigating treacherous, deeply rutted dirt roads just to reach the most remote, completely isolated farming villages. They patiently sit down face to face with everyday citizens, often warming their hands over a steaming, fragrant cup of suja, the traditional Bhutanese butter tea, which tastes wonderfully rich, deeply salty, and incredibly comforting in the cold air. They boldly ask, "How many hours of restful sleep do you get each night? How often do you feel deeply angry, severely stressed, or painfully jealous? Do you genuinely trust your immediate neighbors? Do you still know the traditional ancient stories, the local folklore, and the ancestral songs of your valley? How much time do you dedicate each day to quietly meditating or praying?" This comprehensive survey provides a beautifully detailed picture of the nation's well-being. It recognizes that a person who is immensely wealthy but chronically exhausted, socially isolated, and completely disconnected from the healing power of nature is absolutely not truly thriving. If the survey results clearly show that people in a specific rural district are severely lacking in the time use domain because they must spend far too many exhausting hours walking to collect heavy firewood, the government's direct policy response might simply be to provide more accessible, affordable electricity. This is done specifically to give those hardworking people their precious time back, time to rest their tired bodies, time to play with their children, time to actively participate in joyful community festivals. Speaking of these spectacular festivals, the vital domain of community vitality is most beautifully and vividly showcased during a Tshechu, the highly anticipated annual religious festival. Imagine standing in the wide, stone-paved courtyard of a majestic, towering dzong, completely surrounded by thousands of excited locals dressed in their absolute finest, most brilliantly colored, intricately hand-woven raw silks. The cold mountain air vibrates with the deafening clash of brass cymbals, the deep, thunderous boom of giant temple drums, and the haunting, mournful wail of long, traditional copper horns. Highly trained monks, wearing terrifying yet utterly magnificent, intricately carved wooden masks representing fierce, wrathful, protective deities, perform ancient, highly athletic, hypnotic cham dances. These mesmerizing dances are absolutely not mere theatrical entertainment. They are considered profound, moving meditations, deeply spiritual acts deliberately designed to bless the gathered onlookers, vividly teach complex Buddhist moral lessons, and effectively cleanse the entire community of lingering negative karma. The shared energy in the courtyard is electric, intensely joyous, and profoundly, beautifully communal. Extended families enthusiastically share massive, elaborate picnic lunches seated on the ground. Young children run and play freely among the crowds, and quiet elders continuously spin their handheld copper prayer wheels in deep, unspoken devotion. It is precisely in these beautiful, chaotic, colorful moments that the true, living essence of gross national happiness becomes entirely palpable. It is the deep, comforting joy of belonging, the immense comfort of shared, unshakable belief, and the profound, unspoken understanding that you are a vital, necessary part of an ancient, unbroken lineage of tradition. What do you think has allowed this beautiful tradition to survive so beautifully for centuries? Perhaps it is this very powerful emphasis on community cohesion, the deep cultural realization that an individual human being cannot ever be truly sustainably happy in complete selfish isolation, but only within the warm embrace of a thriving, highly supportive, interconnected society. Let us also take a moment to deeply explore how gross national happiness directly shapes the fundamental human rights of the Bhutanese people, specifically in the highly critical realms of public health and national education. In many affluent parts of the modern world, access to high-quality medical care and advanced higher learning is harshly determined by one's personal financial status, tragically creating deep, painful societal divides. However, in the kingdom of Druk Yul, the approach is fundamentally radically different. The national government, deeply driven by the core, compassionate principles of GNH, provides completely free healthcare and education to all of its citizens. Imagine living your entire life in a supportive society where the terrifying, crushing anxiety of sudden medical bankruptcy simply does not exist. Even in the most rugged, highly inaccessible mountain terrains, the government regularly dispatches dedicated medical teams to ensure that nomadic yak herders and remote farmers receive life-saving treatments. However, as realistic travelers, we must absolutely not romanticize Bhutan as a completely flawless, problem-free mythical utopia. The highly pragmatic Bhutanese people themselves are usually the very first to quickly tell you that gross national happiness is an ongoing difficult aspiration, a beautiful guiding star to steer by, rather than an already fully achieved state of permanent perfection. The relentless, loud modern world is currently knocking very loudly on the heavy, beautifully carved wooden doors of the kingdom. Did you know that Bhutan only finally lifted its strict national ban on television and the internet in 1999? Today, almost every citizen has a smartphone glowing in their hands. The energetic youth walking the streets of Thimphu often wear fashionable jeans and bright sneakers hidden beneath their traditional garments, enthusiastically listening to global music right alongside their ancient folk songs. The rapidly changing country faces very real, very difficult modern challenges. Massive rural to urban migration that empties out historic farming villages, and the incredibly seductive allure of global consumer culture. Young, ambitious people are increasingly seeking lucrative economic opportunities outside their quiet agrarian homeland. This rapid change creates a deep, palpable tension, an incredibly delicate daily balancing act for the nation. How does a small nation embrace the life-saving benefits of modernity without tragically losing its unique ancient soul? They philosophically call it the middle path, a core Buddhist concept of deliberately avoiding destructive extremes. The government strictly uses the GNH screening tool to carefully evaluate every single new proposed policy. In Bhutan, the promise of money alone is simply not enough to ever override the fundamental well-being of the people and the sacredness of the land. As our deeply moving journey through the mist-shrouded valleys of the land of the Thunder Dragon slowly, peacefully draws to a close, we are left standing with a powerful, lingering, deeply personal question. The Kingdom of Bhutan does not arrogantly claim to have all the answers for the world, nor does it falsely claim that every single citizen within its borders is perfectly, blissfully happy all the time. Such a bold claim would be a foolish, impossible illusion. Instead, gross national happiness serves as a brilliant, unfailing compass. It is an incredibly bold, institutionally mandated commitment to its people. It challenges the global assumption that an endlessly booming economy automatically equates to a thriving society. By actively, bravely choosing to rigorously measure community vitality, deep ecological resilience, and inner psychological well-being right alongside standard financial wealth, Bhutan confidently holds up a massive clarifying mirror to our exhausted modern world. It gently but firmly reminds us that while we may have masterfully perfected the difficult art of making a living, we may have entirely forgotten the much more important art of living well. Their ongoing, beautiful national journey silently teaches us that true, lasting human progress must completely encompass the brilliant flourishing of the human spirit and the fierce, unyielding protection of the natural, breathing world that graciously sustains us all. Every culture is a mirror of the human soul, and the journey to understand it may never truly end. Thank you for being part of this journey with us today. There is a saying that simply reading about the mountains is not the same as walking them. We hope this story has transported you, even for a moment, to a world where ancient traditions breathe and profound philosophy lives in the architecture of everyday life. We are building a community of explorers here, people who are curious about the why behind the world's most beautiful traditions. We would love to hear your voice in this conversation. What specific aspect of gross national happiness truly touched your heart the most? Could you ever imagine successfully implementing the 9 domains of happiness in your own local city or community? Please share your thoughts and stories in the discussion below. Your wonderful reflections make this journey infinitely richer for all of us. If you wish to continue exploring the hidden corners of our shared human heritage, we invite you to subscribe, ring the notification bell, and stay with us as we prepare for our next destination. There are always more rivers to cross and more legends to uncover. Until next time,